your thoughts with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're awake. There are about 3 more speeches left. All right. I would like to thank my personal Savior in Jesus Christ. Without him and his power, I wouldn't be standing here today. I would like to thank the College of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation for the opportunity to address you this afternoon. To my husband, all my family, friends, faculty members, advisors, mentors, who are present to witness this achievement, thank you for your love, guiding light, and support on this climactic journey of learning. It is truly an honor and full circle moment for me to speak 10 years after arriving to the University of Maryland, College Park, as an eager, learning teenager. I was so full of hope and promise, and then the realities of architecture set in. Despite my architecture struggles, I earned internships with various prestigious architecture firms, but I felt a void in my coursework. I will never forget the intense and very honest conversation I had with Professor Emeritus Carl Dupuy, who challenged me to reevaluate my passions. I began to desire an interdisciplinary and holistic approach to architecture that merged my interests in planning, community engagement, and urban design. My first year as a planning student challenged my thought process. Case studies transformed my outlook of urban landscape, the social histories that fostered land-based inclusion of low-income communities. In Professor Howie Baum's social planning course, we read Streets of Hope by Peter Madoff and Holly Sklar, which tells the story of an underserved community in Boston, the Dudley Street neighborhood, that was shaped by the dreams of ordinary people of different races and generations. This inner city neighborhood, like so many around the country, was treated like an outsider city, separate, unequal, and disposable. Through effective community organizing, planning, and development, the Dudley Street neighborhood challenged long-standing stereotypes and coined slogans such as, "Don't dump on us," "Take a stand," "Own the land." From this case study, I realized the indomitable power of people and how community planners could best leverage the power to affect change. My experiences as a graduate student are representative of a community of members, my stakeholders, as I call them, who took great care to guide and encourage me throughout my academic journey. To my academic mentor, Dr. Jim Cohen, thank you for always making yourself available, despite the many headaches I may have caused you. You are always present and open to listen and advise, and you never judged my confused rants. To Professor Uri Avon and the Planning Process course, my most memorable course. This is by far the hardest grade I have ever worked for my entire academic career. In his course, I recognized the layers of the planning process and the various ranges of planning approaches, methods, and tools. Oh, and I can never forget his emphasis on the importance of, first, presentation skills, secondly, engaging the audience, and thirdly, the power of listing out all your main ideas in just 3 points. No more, no less. So, Professor Uri, how am I doing so far? Toward the end of Professor Avon's course, I cannot forget our candid conversation on how I could become a better student. I expected him to highlight a laundry list of attributes and skills, but rather, he responded like an observant professor that he is. So, what books do you have in your library? That summer, he sent me a list of 15 foundational books that every planner should own. Professor Avon also encouraged me through my summer internship involving an office market survey of over 450 businesses in downtown Columbia. Experiences like these I will never forget. And to my colleagues graduating with me today, I know each of you will uniquely bring various backgrounds and perspectives to our community of planners. I cannot wait to hear of the exploits we accomplish individually. To David Doe, standing in the audience. Hey, David. Who never hesitated to share his very high-tech class notes with cell phone snapshots of important content. To Jessica Beulah, who was always willing to provide the historical context of a subject matter and make you wonder, how does she keep all that information in her brain? Thank you for being a good friend. And to Jim Spatz, whose amazing brain could interpret technical microeconomic terms such as marginal utility and the cross-price elasticity of supply and demand. You're probably just as confused as I was, but Jim always helped to make such complexities make sense. Thank you, Jim. I call on my fellow colleagues to reread your admission essays into this program and remind yourself of your passion for planning, your desire to guide and ensure the orderly development of communities, including land, the urban environment, and transportation networks. We must be willing to correct the mistakes of the past, plan for the betterment of the present, and lay the foundations of our future. In closing, I must honor my first inspiration to architecture, my loving father, here with me today. As a young girl, I was particularly intrigued by the history of buildings and the thought processes that preceded them. As I grew older, I desired to study architecture and planning, while most of my peers viewed it as a masculine profession and likened it to construction. My father afforded me the first positive example of what architecture looked like. In 1989, my father completed his doctorate degree in urban planning from Howard University. He emigrated from Nigeria to complete his PhD and to afford his growing family the opportunity for a better life. I was very young when he completed his final dissertation, but I vividly remember the pictures of his urban planning models and new approaches to urbanism. Since that time, my father has shaped my learning experience by encouraging me to look beyond the apparent and dig deep enough to actually understand the composition and complexities of a community. I can only hope that my daughter-to-be, due in July, is just as inspired by what I have accomplished thus far, the same way I look to my father. Daddy and Mommy, for your lifelong inspiration, thank you. And again, thank you all for this great honor.